All right, so ready to unlock some billionaire secrets. We're going deep today with three people who built fortunes in totally different ways. We've got a shipping magnate, a tech guy, and a blue-collar business king.
It is fascinating that their paths are so different, but there are some things they all did that we can learn from.
Exactly. So first, a quick overview of each person's story, and then we'll really dig into their journeys.
And try to pull out those golden nuggets that you can use.
First up, Michael Hudner. From Wall Street to owning over 140 ships, it's unbelievable how he built that empire from nothing.
Yeah, he started in real estate finance, but what's interesting is he always loved the sea, so he kind of blended his financial skills with that love of ships.
Next, Bob Metcalfe, the Ethernet guy. I mean, think about it. Almost everything online uses his invention.
But he didn't just invent it, he commercialized it. Built 3Com turned Ethernet into the standard. That's where the money came from.
It's crucial, right?
Yeah.
The idea is just the start. The challenge is getting it out there, making it something everyone needs.
Exactly. And he learned a lot from some unexpected mentors, like Steve Jobs, who was actually 10 years younger than him.
Wow, I bet that was an interesting dynamic.
It was. Jobs encouraged Metcalfe to get what he called adult supervision, meaning, build a strong team with different skills.
Love that term. And it makes sense. Even geniuses need a team with different strengths.
For sure. And lastly, Larry Janeski proof, you don't need tech or Wall Street to make billions. He got rich in the not-so-glamorous world of basement repair.
That's wild. Wouldn't think basement repair is a billion-dollar industry.
Right. But Janeski saw a problem that tons of homeowners face, and he solved it. He loves creating jobs empowering blue-collar workers, proof that wealth can be found in unexpected places.
So three different guys, three different paths to success. Let's unpack Michael Hudner's journey first. What were the key things that took him from a Wall Street cubicle to all those ships?
Well, one of the first big things was just admitting the corporate world wasn't for him. He had this deep desire for freedom, to be his own boss, make his own calls, build something he was proud of.
I think a lot of people feel that way, wanting to break free from the 9 to 5. But it takes guts to actually do it.
It does. And for Hudner, his love for the sea helped give him those guts. He was always fascinated by ships, the whole maritime world.
So entrepreneurial drive and passion for ships, how did those come together?
He saw a gap, realized no one was applying real estate financing to ships, so he saw a way to combine his financial knowledge with his love for the sea.
Okay, so opportunity spotted. But how did he make it happen? Did he have tons of money saved to buy his first ship?
Actually, he had very little personal capital starting out. But he understood partnership. He knew there were people with money looking for smart investments.
So what's a takeaway for someone who's starting out and doesn't have millions in the bank?
Hudner's story shows you don't need all the money up front. The key is become an expert in your field, develop a plan, and find the right partners who believe in what you're doing.
So passion, risk-taking, and securing funding through partnership. All crucial for Hudner. What else stands out as a defining moment in his success?
Hudner often says, quotes his grandfather, "The people who say they never had a chance never took a chance." And that really captures his willingness to, step outside his comfort zone, leaving that safe Wall Street job.
Good reminder, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. Bet on yourself, bet on your vision, even if it means leaving what feels safe.
Absolutely. But Hudner's success wasn't all smooth sailing. He had some tough personal challenges, like losing his son and his wife.
It just goes to show, even with money and success, life can throw some curveballs.
Yeah, but Hudner was able to keep going, With the support of loved ones and focusing on helping others, he actually started a foundation in his son's name, focused on education and healthcare.
That's inspiring. To channel that grief into something so positive, it speaks to the importance of having something bigger than yourself to focus on, especially when things are tough.
Now let's switch gears a bit. Dive into the tech world with Bob Metcalfe and Ethernet. What stood out to you about his story? What struck me is he's really open about how his wealth didn't just come from inventing Ethernet. He makes it clear the money came from building the company, making it the standard.
Yeah, that's a huge E difference. Anyone can have a good idea. But turning it into a business, that's another story.
Exactly. He always asks, are you building something people actually want to BUY? You can't just focus on the text. You got to understand what the market needs.
Right. You could have the best product ever, but if no one wants it, it's not making you rich.
And Metcalfe learned a lot about building a business from Steve Jobs, who, as we said, was actually his mentor, even though he was younger.
What kind of advice did Jobs give him?
Well, one big thing was that adult supervision idea. which sounds funny, but it really means knowing what you're not good at and finding people who are.
So it's not just about finding smart people. It's about finding people whose strengths are your weaknesses.
Yeah. Metcalf, being an engineer, he loved the tech side. But he knew he needed people good at sales, marketing, finance, all that, to make it a business.
So how did that work? Did he hire a CEO, bring on board members? What did that look like?
Well, for example, he hired Eric Benamou, who eventually became CEO of 3Com. Benamou was great at sales and marketing, which Metcalf knew they needed.
That's adult supervision in action. Knowing he didn't have all the answers, bringing in someone who could take the company further.
Exactly. And it's not just hiring, it's letting go, trusting those people to do what they're good at.
Empowering your team.
Right. And that wasn't always easy for Metcalf, especially at the beginning. He was very hands-on, but he learned to trust his team and delegate.
Sounds like a big mindset shift going from inventor to CEO.
Yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that. They're so into their idea, their business, it's hard to let go.
Makes sense. But to build a real business, you need to build a team. Let them use their talents.
Now, another interesting thing about Metcalf is he's really aware of the dangers of money and ego. He's seen how money changes people, even small amounts.
So how did he stay grounded? What did he do to keep his ego in check?
One thing he did was he would introduce himself to people even if he thought they knew who he was.
Interesting. Why do you think that was?
He didn't want to assume everyone knew him or treat people differently because he was rich or famous. Wanted to stay humble.
Yeah, success shouldn't change who you are. It's important to remember everyone deserves to be treated the same, no matter how much money they have.
Absolutely. Ready to explore the blue-collar billions now with Larry Janeski.
Let's do it. His story is so different from finance and tech. What were the key things that helped him build a whole basement repair empire?
One thing that sets him apart is he really respects blue-collar work, doesn't see it as less important than white-collar stuff.
And you see that in his company. He creates good jobs, good benefits, really passionate about those workers.
Exactly. It challenges how we think about success. You don't need a college degree or a fancy job to be financially free.
So he saw the value in that work. How did he turn that into a billion-dollar business?
He started with a common problem, basement problems. It's something so many homeowners deal with, and it's a pain.
Not glamorous, but definitely necessary.
Exactly. And he built a business around solving that problem really well. Started small, focused on doing great work for his customers, and slowly grew over time.
It's been over 40 years he's been building these businesses. Not an overnight thing. He's all about patience, persistence. He says, we didn't make a big jump. We made a lot of little ones.
Good lesson there. Building a business takes time, dedication. There's no shortcuts.
It's about giving people what they need, building a good reputation, and growing steadily.
One thing that really impressed me about Janeski is his focus on work-life balance. Believes you don't have to sacrifice your personal life to be successful.
Tell me more about that. How does he run multiple businesses and have a life?
He's very disciplined about it, sets boundaries between work and personal time. He actually hasn't worked a weekend in 30 years.
Wow, a billionaire who doesn't work weekends. That's unheard of.
Right. It challenges everything we think about success. It's not about working all the time. It's about working smarter, not harder, prioritizing what matters.
So how does he stay productive? A&D have time for family, hobbies, all that. Any specific strategies?
Well, he delegates really well, builds a great team, and lets them make decisions, own their roles. That frees up his time to focus on the big picture stuff.
So it's about building a system that works even when you're not doing everything yourself.
Exactly. And he's careful about how he schedules his time, blocks out time for work, family, exercise, all of it. Make sure he's giving enough time to each part of his life.
A balanced life that supports your work and your personal goals. Much better than that always-on thing everyone's doing.
Definitely. And it's something we can all try to do no matter what our job is or how successful we are.
Now, another interesting thing about Janeski is his belief in positive thinking. He's big on mindset and personal development.
Yeah, he talks a lot about how motivational tapes and speakers helped him get through tough times and achieve success. Believes your mindset really shapes what you achieve.
It's true. What you believe, how you think it, affects everything you do and what happens to you.
And he's not just listening to that stuff, he's making it now too, sharing his own insights and experiences.
We come full circle, from being inspired to inspiring others.
It shows the importance of learning A&D, sharing what you know to help others.
So we've looked at three very different guys who became successful in very different ways. What are the big takeaways? What can our listeners learn from their stories?
Well, one thing they all have is passion for what they do. Hudner loved ships. Metcalf loved technology. Janeski loved blue-collar work. They weren't just chasing money, they were excited about the work itself.
That's an interesting point. But isn't wanting to be successful financially part of building a business? Not necessarily a bad thing.
You're right. It's not about hating money. It's about recognizing that passion is what often drives that success. When you love what you do, you're more likely to put in the work, overcome challenges, and reach your goals.
So finding something you're truly passionate about, that's step one. What else?
They were all willing to take risks. Hudner left a secure job to get into ship financing. Metcalf challenged big companies with his tech. Janeski built a huge business in an industry most people wouldn't even think about. They all get out of their comfort zones.
Good reminder to sometimes do things differently, challenge the way things are done. Take risks, but calculated risks, right?
Absolutely. They knew their markets and what they offered. They saw problems and created solutions that people would pay for. They weren't just building companies, they were building solutions.
Hudner changed how ships were financed. Metcalf connected the world with Ethernet. Janeski gave homeowners peace of mind with their basements.
Yeah, that's another key takeaway. Create real value.
Yeah.
What problem are you solving? What need are you filling? Answer those, and you're on the right track.
These guys also show the importance of constantly learning.
Metcalf learned from Steve Jobs, even though he was younger. Janeski listened to tons of motivational stuff, always learning. Hudner, even though he was successful in shipping, was always studying the industry, the markets. Never stopped learning.
And that's something we can all do, no matter what we do or how experienced we are. There's books, podcasts, online courses, mentors. The important thing is to want to learn to get better.
It's about staying curious, questioning what you think, and adapting to new information and changes.
Now let's talk about their personal lives,
Yeah.
how their values played a role. One thing I see is they all focused on building good relationships. It wasn't just business. They valued real connections.
Yeah, Hudner talked about finding financial partners who shared his vision. Metcalf built a strong board of directors who weren't afraid to disagree with him. Janeski created a loyal team. Lots of people have been with him for years.
They knew business is about people. Building trust, working together, creating a good environment that's important for long-term success.
Exactly. It's not just about making money. It's about building a culture where people feel valued, respected, motivated to do their best. And that leads to another thing, giving back.
Hudner, after losing his son and wife, found comfort in helping others. Metcalf gives a lot to research and education. Janeski is all about creating jobs and empowering workers.
They all understood that being successful means making a difference. They used their money and their influence to support things they cared about, whether it was philanthropy mentoring or creating jobs.
It's a good reminder that being truly wealthy isn't just about how much money you have. It's about how you make the world a better place. Ready to go even deeper into what we can learn from these guys.
Absolutely. Let's see how their experiences can help anyone who wants to achieve financial freedom.
So we talked about passion, taking risks, learning, building relationships, giving back. What else can we take away from these billionaires? What can our listeners actually do with this information?
You know, one big thing is having a clear vision. These guys knew exactly what they wanted. Hudner wanted a shipping empire. Metcalf wanted to connect the world to Southbourne. Janeski wanted to change basement repair. They weren't just drifting. They had a goal and a plan.
Makes sense. If you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. But how do you get that vision? It's easy to say have a vision, but how do you actually figure it out?
Right. It's different for everyone. But I think you got to start by asking yourself some tough questions, like what does financial freedom mean to you? What kind of business do you want? What kind of impact do you want to have?
Big questions. It's like a mission statement for your life.
Yeah. And once you have that vision, you break it down into steps.
These billionaires didn't just dream they did these stuff. Hudner got financing for his first ship. Metcalf focused on building a team and selling his invention. Janeski got really good at what he did and gave his customers amazing service. They didn't wait for the perfect time. They just started moving.
So don't wait for everything to be perfect.
Ooh.
Just take that first step, even if it's small. Exactly. That's important for all of us. Break your goals down into smaller things you can actually do. What can you do today to get closer to your vision? What can you learn? Who can you talk to? Just keep moving and you'll be surprised how far you go.
So taking action, but what about mindset? These guys all seemed really confident in themselves, like they knew they could succeed.
They did. Hudner had problems but never gave up on his vision. Metcalf took on huge companies and won. Janeski stayed positive even when he owed millions. They all had this resilience, this determination, this belief in themselves.
Like a can-do attitude.
Yeah.
But how do you develop that, especially when things are tough?
It's not always easy, but I think you got to remember that setbacks happen to everyone. Failure isn't the ND, it's part of the journey. It's about learning from what goes wrong, making changes, and coming back stronger.
So don't let failure stop you. Use it to learn and grow.
Exactly. And surround yourself with people who believe in you. Having support makes a big difference when you're struggling or doubting yourself.
It sounds like these billionaires weren't just good at business, they were good at building relationships too.
For sure. And that's another key takeaway. You can't do everything yourself. You need a good team. Hudner needed partners to get money and figure out the shipping world. Metcalf needed that adult supervision to grow 3Com. Janeski had a loyal team who helped him build his empire.
So what's the lesson for our listeners?
Hmm.
How can we build a strong team in our own lives?
You got to know what you're good at and what you're not good at and find people who fill those gaps. Find people who are smarter than you in certain areas. Get mentors and advisors who can help you see things differently.
To build a network of support.
Exactly. And it's not just about finding talented people, it's about creating a good environment where
Yeah.
people trust each other, work together, and respect each other, where everyone feels valued and appreciated.
So passion, a vision, taking action, resilience, a good team, a support network, those are all important for financial freedom. What's your final piece of advice for our listeners?
Just start. Do something today, even something small. Don't let fear or doubt hold you back. Embrace the journey, learn from everything, and never give up on what you want.
That's great advice. It's been fascinating learning about these billionaires. Their stories show us that success isn't about luck. It's about working hard, being determined, and being open to new things.
And it's something anyone can achieve if they're willing to put in the work.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you've learned something you can use in your own life.
And remember, financial freedom isn't just about the money. It's about having the freedom to live the life you want. So go out there and make it happen.